Hello, I'm Jim Robinson, and in our Telile studios in Arishat, we're welcoming Terry Kelly, singer-songwriter. Welcome, Terry.
Pleasure to be here.
Nice to see you.
Nice,
okay.
Jim.
Now, there's a saying that life is just a bold adventure, or if it's nothing at all. And you've got 7 ECMA awards. You've been nominated for 4 Junos, the Edmonton Symphony. You performed with the Nova Scotia Symphony, and in 2007, Rick Hillier himself, General Rick Hillier, invited you to join Team Canada and travel to Afghanistan with them. Has life been an adventure for you?
Life not has been, it continues to be. That's great. Yeah, when I arrived in Kandahar with Rick Hillier, we were getting off the Hercules, in Kandahar, and as I got off the aircraft, he came over to me, put his hand on my shoulder. He says, "Kelly, you're on night duty." So, yeah, no, life has been wonderful for me, and I attribute that to fabulous parents, wonderful teachers, coaches, mentors. I've been very blessed,
Well, let's find out a little bit more. For example, after your name, there are a lot of letters. Terry Kelly, let's see, Terry Kelly, CM, BA, DCL, DFA. What does CM stand for?
I'm fortunate to be in the Order of Canada.
What happened in Rideau Hall on December 2003, or October 2003?
Well, Leonard Cohen was there, and my wife threatened to leave me for him. That's the first thing that happened. No. It was a real honor, and I always want to point out that although I was I received the order, it's a result of all the people I mentioned earlier, as well as my partner, manager, brother, who works with me, my wife, all the wonderful people in my life. Whenever I do a volunteer, event, whenever I do something where it looks like I'm doing it, it really is there are many other people doing it. So, although I received the Order of Canada, it's a result of other people.
Did you find out who recommended you for the order?
I did. I did afterwards. It was someone that I'd done. I have done a lot of work for national defense in my professional speaking career, and one of our clients who had hired us several times to do some work made the application.
Okay, so. And you shared the honor that day with people like Leonard Cohen. Anyone else?
I think Sharon Olsen-Bram were there that day.
Okay.
Who else was there? Stephen Lewis was there.
Excellent.
And so there were, there was a lady, an Innu lady from up north, who'd done some amazing things, and so it was amazing because there were people from every walk of life you can think of, and everyone who's contributed something, and of course all those people as well have other people around them and behind them. And so the recipient isn't the person that does all the work.
You were in good company that day.
It was very nice, and Donald Sutherland was there as well. So my wife almost left for that one too. Shirley Douglas was there because of Donald.
Right.
No, when it was Donald. No, Kiefer. Sorry, Kiefer was there. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the Order of Canada.
Thank you.
And also BA, I assume that's for Bachelor of Arts. What university did you attend?
I attended St. Mary's.
Okay, well, is that a kind of a party school?
It was hard work and a hard party. Work first, party after.
There you go. Now, did you find that being blind, that you had any problems back in that day? Did they have a way to accommodate your situation?
Well, back then university was somewhat of more so than it would be now, a challenge. Because of the access to information and so on. But thanks to St. Mary's had a dedicated department to assist students with different challenges with if someone was deaf, blind, people who had mobility challenges, whatever.
Yes.
And so through that department at St. Mary's, we were able to organize volunteer readers. We were able to write our exams in Braille and then have them transcribed through the School for the Blind at the time, and then it went back to the professor. So, and then in some situations we could do an oral exam with professors if we chose.
Right. Well, you're studying?
I studied psychology.
Okay. Yeah. Good. So good memories. Do you have one good memory to share about SMU and you?
I have many good memories of St. Mary. Well, I tell you one thing. I was in the residence in the at the time they called it High Rise 2. I think it's the Loyola building now. But I was on the 16th floor, and I was in a suite with 5 different rooms, and there was a double room and 4 other single rooms, and my single room was the biggest of the 4 single, but my room overlooked the football field.
Right on.
And so no one could figure out how the blind guy got this prime, spot to watch the football games, right?
I bet you probably hosted quite a few good parties there.
I did, and because I had a bigger room, I had a refrigerator in my room that stocked all the refreshments that needed cooling.
Great.
So I had, as a result of all that, we had some wonderful social times, and I had great, I had wonderful volunteer readers who gave of their time, and a lot of them were students, so at the time I really appreciated it, but looking back, I even appreciated it more because these people were studying themselves, and some were in the same program I was, and some weren't. They just wanted to help out and read, and you can imagine all the books for a university course.
Yes.
A lot of reading, so these people were great.
Well, the Huskies have definitely lived up to their reputation and have held a good tradition in the football world.
Indeed.
What does DCL and DFA stand for?
Doctor of Civil Law for the DCL, and that was given to me by King's College.
Okay. At Dalhousie.
University of King's College at Dalhousie, and the other is Bachelor of Fine Arts from St. Mary's.
Now, did you ever in your wildest dreams figure that an honorary doctorate from University of King's College and St. Mary's University for your humanitarian contributions would ever figure in your life? Did you ever think of that?
Not in my wildest dreams. It was never crossed my mind. That was quite a, it's an honor. And again, all the people around me were more instrumental than I was to make that happen.
You've been an avid sportsman as well as a musician, singer, songwriter. If you had, and you've received a number of awards in both fields, if there was a fire, which award would you grab if you could only grab one? A sports one or a music one?
Oh my heavens! Well, I have 2 hands, so I might grab one of each.
Now, you did break the 5-minute mile, one of the only 3 people in Canada who's run under 5 minutes for a mile. When did that happen?
In 1979. At the time, I was one of 3 people in the world to break that 5-minute mile. Since then, there are many, many, many. But we had a coach at the time who, had really inspired us to believe that we could do that with guide runners and so on. Back then, it wasn't thought that someone who could run that fast.
How did you run that fast? You had a guide runner. Did you have their hand on them? Or
no, you synchronize your stride with the guide runner. So I'm exaggerating, of course. So when your arm is going back and forth like this, my right arm would be synchronized with the left arm of my guide.
Okay.
And then the guide runner on a track. Well, after you run, hundreds of quarters when you're training,
yes.
You have a pretty good picture of the track in your mind. So you're just touching the arm. When I do cross country running and road running, then the guide, it's important to be paying attention to the guide to give you feedback in terms of where the curbs are and where rocks and stumps and all that jazz. So you have to make sure that you lift your feet at the appropriate time.
That's amazing to know about the synchronization of it all. Now, Pablo Casals, the famous cellist, once said, "I'm a man first and a musician second." What do you feel is the most for accomplishments that you're the most proud of? What's the one that you're the most proud of?
Well, I think the thing that I'm most proud of, or the most pleased with, grateful for, is the fact that I've had so many wonderful teachers and coaches and mentors who taught me or inspired me to come to know that being blind is no big deal. And that it took me a while. For a long time in my life, I was self-conscious about being blind. And so they I was taught that, listen, get over it. You know, you're blind. There's nothing you can do about making your eyes work, but there's lots you can do there to get out there and enjoy your life. So, you know, as a result of that, I ended up running world-class, you know, competitions, downhill ski. I've done that, you know.
You carried the torch in Barcelona for the Olympics, did you not? The Paralympics?
Well, no, it was for the Calgary Olympics.
Oh, Calgary Olympics.
And
Yes,
when
right.
it came to St. John's, it started off, you know, on the east coast of Canada, St.
Okay.
John's. So I did a kilometer with the torch there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so I think, I wouldn't, I guess if you want to call it an accomplishment, but it's a gift that I was given, or, you know, to say that get over it, get on with life,
Mm-hmm.
and be grateful for all the gifts you have. So I was taught to look at what I have,
Mm-hmm.
look at my abilities as opposed to what your challenges are. And when you do that, any challenge, whether it's blind or, you know, it could be jealousies, it could be you know, the way you look at yourself.
Right.
Any of those things are totally can be overcome by celebrating and using all the gifts you have.
Any one person really comes to mind when you think of the person that told you to get over it the first, or that struck you the most when they first said it to you?
Well, I think my parents, who, when I was a kid, you know, 7 years old, they found out about the School for the Blind in Halifax, and back then, Halifax was a long, long way away from St. John's,
Mm-hmm.
and so the first people that made any big impression or inspired me was the fact that my parents decided to let me go away from home.
And they believed in you.
Well, they believed that it was the right thing to do, and it was tough for parents to do it. And when I had my own kids, I understood how, you know, immensely difficult it must have been,
Mm-hmm.
especially back then. You know, it was as I said, Halifax was a long way away, you know, in your mind back then than it is now.
Yes.
And then there were many other people. There was a man named Ed Fraser, you know, who was at the School for the Blind, who really opened the world to us, and, you know, let us do all sorts of things, and in fact insisted that we do different things. And of course the coach, his son Dave Fraser, who coached me and a number of other people to run the world class.
You were a double silver medalist in the Paralympics, were you not?
Not in the Paralympics. That was in a national
Canadian
Yeah.
track championships.
Yeah, in the Paralympics, when I ran the Paralympics, I didn't end up with a medal.
Okay.
A couple of guys on my team did.
Okay.
I had a stress fracture at the time.
Oh.
And although I ran a good race, you know, relatively speaking, I didn't medal in that race.
Where do your songs come from? Do you have a certain story that you consider, a musical treatment that you favor, a type of theme that guides you when you come up with a song?
Well, no, it's you know, grown over the years and spread out, but the initial one was you know, being dumped by a girl. You know, your heart's ripped out, so you decide you've got to write this sappy love song.
Okay.
And up until that point, I didn't think I could write. And in fact, I was in a band, a cover band, and this new guy joined, and he was writing music, and I was fascinated by the fact that this guy was writing music. You know, because I'd listen to the radio and think the only people who can write songs are the guys on the radio. And then I meet this person in the flesh who's writing songs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm thinking, oh, yeah, boy, I wonder, can I do that? And then not too long after that, I was dumped, and I was down in the rehearsal room one day, got there early, and this song started coming out of me. And
It happens.
yeah, it happened. It just happened, and I realized, okay. And so, you know, then I started writing about life, and I started co-writing with other writers
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, trying to hone the skill. And then later, people asked me to write songs about things. Like, so, A Pittance of Time, for instance, was an example of that. And since A Pittance of Time, you know, writing about veterans and soldiers and having to, you know, talk to soldiers and Veterans Affairs and Army, Air Force, Navy people, you know, families who've had to spend time away from their loved ones who go overseas. So I couldn't just sit down and write the song.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do research. And then I ended up writing songs on literacy and about, you know, Louis Braille, who invented Braille, and all sorts of different things. So doing the research for songs was really important, because you get to learn about that topic. But in the same light, my emotion based on what I've learned about that topic comes out. So I inject a bit of myself into it, you know.
What type of music would I find on your stereo in your car?
You would find James Taylor,
Mm-hmm.
England Dan, John Ford Coley. You'd find a little at home. You'd find a little Mozart, one of my
Okay.
favorite. I like Bach, Mozart, be my favorite classical guys. You know, and I like some of the Handel music as well. I like George Jones.
Okay.
I'm pretty eclectic in my music, and I love Jennifer Warren.
A nice, a wide variety from A to Z.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Beatles.
The
of
Beatles.
course.
Yes, you can't forget the Beatles.
Yeah.
Now, the advice to give anybody who happens to be viewing us and likes making up songs, how can a person succeed in the business of music? What advice would you give?
As a writer or in the business?
As a writer, as a business person?
Well, the first thing I do is make sure that, and I made this mistake in school, that I gave up my piano lessons and I didn't take lessons, and I had an opportunity for vocal lessons, for all of that, and I just said, I can do that myself, and I'm paying the price still today, but so I would say learn to read music, learn to play by ear, make sure you don't lose that gift, because way back they used to take that away from kids. They'd only let kids play by reading the music, and playing by ear was something that was frowned upon in many situations. So use those gifts. Don't take that away from a kid if you're inspiring them to, or encourage them to play music.
Mm-hmm.
Practice. My gosh, practice. and if you're going to write your own songs, but get together. Music Nova Scotia, now has so many, opportunities for people to learn the industry, to learn about songwriting, to take seminars. Back when I was starting, none of that was available. So write with people who are experienced, call them up, go to lunch with someone who's been successful.
Okay.
Get out there, play, get in front of people.
That's how to be successful in the business of music, I guess.
Absolutely.
Now, anybody in mind that you teamed up with as a songwriter that any names you want to drop here on television?
Well, I've written with Jimmy Rankin,
All right.
and I've recorded a couple of tunes that we've co-written. Ron Hines and I've written together.
He's great.
Yeah.
Fabulous writer.
Oh, wonderful. And I've done some stuff with Shirley Eichert. And
Gives me an idea that you've worked in some pretty high-end circles then.
well, I've been fortunate to be around a lot of good people. Yeah.
Right. Well, now 6 full recordings. We'd have a selection on the table. You've also had The Power of the Dream was a particularly unique full recording. Could you explain what was unique about it?
But The Power of the Dream?
Yes.
Well, first of all, my manager, Tony
Yes.
Kelly, got the idea to have to put a Braille insert with this recording. As it turns out, it's the first recording in the world that's totally accessible to those who are partially blind or totally blind, or anyone who needs special ways to look at the artwork, or the insert, the text on a recording.
In Braille.
Well, yeah. So Braille takes up a lot of space, and we weren't able to put everything in Braille.
Yes.
But all the track titles are there, the little liner note, and there's a note at the bottom of the insert that says, "Put this disc in your computer, and you can access all the lyrics and text that's printed on the insert."
That's how it was enhanced. I was going to ask about what was done to make it an enhanced disc.
Yeah. So that's that, and there's also a Braille lesson, Braille tutorial, included on the disc as well.
No kidding.
Yeah. So that was, and that was inspired. Tony is inspired to do that because I was home one day listening to a recording, and when I'm listening to a recording, I say, I wonder where that was recorded now. Who's the engineer? Who's playing bass on that? Or who's that guitarist? And I had to wait till someone got home to read the darn insert.
And so you looked after that with The Power of the Dream.
That's right.
And with you mentioned Tony is your brother and your manager.
Yeah.
How does that him being your manager affect your family connection with him?
We have our brotherly moments.
That's what I was trying to look for.
Yeah, in both ways, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, he's a blessing and another gift.
He's listening in outside, by the
Oh,
way.
is he? Oh,
Yeah.
gee, okay.
You have to
Delete all that. Would you? Can you? Oh, it's too late. He's listening. Yeah. No, he's been a blessing and a gift, and you know, we work well together, and you know, of course we have our brotherly moments.
Yeah.
The hugging brotherly moments, and the other ones as well. You know.
How long has your career lasted? I mean, when did you decide to become a professional?
Graduated from university, or you know, when I got out of university, I didn't have a job, and so my hobby up till that point was playing music, and I thought music was going to be the way for me to make extra money through high school and university. In fact, it was. Every weekend I was working and playing, so that was great. But my plan was to be a guidance counselor in school.
Okay.
When I finished university, that didn't happen, so my hobby turned into my full-time job.
I'm going to change topics just a little bit, because I noticed on your website you're described as being a keynote speaker. We're in a boardroom or on a stage. What would your message be, Terry?
Use the gifts that you have. Don't only focus on your challenges and difficulties. Mm-hmm. Using our gifts help us overcome challenges, and sometimes we'll even transform the challenge into a gift. And you know, living with the gift of gratitude is probably one of the best things we can do, because if we live with gratitude, then we're never away from focusing on gifts.
Good advice. To whom do you speak? I mean, where are the international conferences, or what type of audiences do you look for?
Well,
and have you talked to?
Well, because my presentation talks about taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, financially. I've spoken to groups of doctors, dentists, dental assistants, teachers, lawyers, people from pharmaceutical companies.
Kids?
It's the gamut. Oh, lots of young people. I have a presentation for elementary school, middle, and high school.
Right.
So I've done thousands and thousands of young people across the country and into the U.S.
Excellent. Well, and if you were let's have a little bit of fun here. If we were riding on a tandem on a bike, mm-hmm. what event would we be in? And would I be in the front, or would you be in the front?
Well, there would be times when I would insist that you're on the back. And that would be maybe riding on the beach, on the flat sand, you know.
Right.
And when I was a kid, actually, I used to ride a bike all the time.
Right.
And in the country, I have when you're blind, you have this thing called facial vision or echolocation.
Okay.
And so if I, the wall behind you over there, if I go like this, and I can if I go or make that noise, I can tell that wall's probably, there's one behind us even closer.
Yes.
So I can hear the echo there. It's like 3.5 feet or so.
Exactly right.
And then that one over there is probably 7-8 feet.
You're right.
And I use echolocation. So when in the country, I'd be riding my bike, and the shrubs along the side of the road would give me, my spatial awareness. Mm-hmm. And when we'd leave those places, my brother Tony we'd put a piece of plastic, on the frame of his bike, so it would rub against the spokes, and I'd ride along behind him.
Wow. Here's another situation. I'm in a recording studio and I'm messing up my part. What would you tell me?
Depends what you're doing.
I'm playing with you.
You're playing. Well, I'd say let's do it again. and I'll tell you why I do that, because I know all about many takes. So I mean, the thing is that I would, knowing what I know now, when I first went in the studio, I would do things over and over again, and I'd make this, and say my pitch was off or whatever, mm-hmm. and I'd keep doing the same thing, and it was because of the way I was delivering or the way I was breathing. You know all about that. You're a vocal coach.
Yes.
And so it was because of the way I was using or not using my diaphragm, or opening my mouth, or that kind of thing, letting the air flow. And so really what I do, I'd say, okay, what's going on here? I'd find out why is this happening. So try and identify the source of what's going on. Because sometimes just doing it over and over again isn't the answer if you don't have the source of why it isn't working out.
So you get it to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Now, if I was a co-pilot and you were the pilot, how would you become the pilot? Because you do fly, right?
Well, I've flown airplanes, or
Piloted them?
Yeah. I was going out west one time. I was on a tour with the band, and I'd just done an interview with Peter Zosky, with CBC Morningside back then, and he was asking me about dreams, and he said, "So Terry, you have a dream, that a recurring dream?" I said, "Well, yeah, I had this dream that I'm flying an airplane. I've read airplane books since I was a kid, and I want to fly an airplane." And so I arrive in Dauphin, Manitoba for this big music festival, and we pull up, get backstage, and the producer comes over to me and says, "Terry," I says, "Yeah." He says, "We have a little surprise for you." I said, "What's that?" He said, "After the show, I have a flight instructor who's going to take you up and give you a lesson." He said, "But after the show." So then I go up in this airplane after the show, and this wonderful flight instructor, lady, puts me in the left-hand seat, which is the main pilot seat.
It is.
And I'd been in airplanes before, so I was familiar with controls to a certain degree. And so she said, I'm going to take off." She went through the rudder and where the flap control was, and telling me, just reminding me of things. She said, "I'm going to take you up, and I'm going to talk you through a landing and a takeoff." And she said, "I'm here to grab it, take a hold of things if necessary." So this very calm instructor talked me through a landing and a takeoff and a landing again, And
Obviously, you were successful.
I'm still here. See, I could have done it before the show. See?
Well, that's great. Listen, I want to tell you. Yesterday, I heard A Pittance of Time on your on a website. It was called apittanceoftime.org, I think it was, and brought tears to my eyes. How did that song develop? Can you describe how that came about?
No, sure. Well, my wife and I were running late. We weren't going to make the cenotaph. She had just had a knee operation, and we're going to a drugstore to rent some crutches, and we're late. And so it was approaching 11 o'clock, and to our great surprise, the manager came over the public address system and invited all the customers to join her and her staff for 2 minutes of silence,
Yes.
So the place goes dead quiet at around 11 o'clock, at 11 o'clock, except one man, and he's wanting to get out of there quickly, I guess, and he's loud, And he didn't have what he wanted. He says, no, I want this one over here. He's pointing at something, And 20 seconds go by, and I put my finger to my lips, like, "Oh, shh,"
Yes.
And I don't think he was really impressed by it. But before the 2 minutes were up, he did leave the store, and as he was going out the door, I didn't know she was there until now. A little girl, 8, 9 years old, said, "Daddy, that was embarrassing. You were supposed to be quiet during that time." And I thought, isn't that something now? A little girl counseling her dad on respect.
From the mouths of babes.
Yeah, indeed. And so I was livid, and so I talked about it to my wife, for days after. She says, "Terry, why don't you just stop complaining? You're a storyteller, you're a songwriter. Write a song or something, will you?" So I always listen to my wife.
Good idea.
Right? Oh yeah. It didn't always, but it pays off. Anyway, so I wrote, that song came from that. And it was also, I think I had a big reaction to that, because when I was at the School for the Blind, a lot of our teachers and house parents or counselors were retired Army, Air Force, Navy people.
Yes.
And they were my surrogate parents away from home. So I really came to appreciate the sacrifices that they had made, during the Second World War and the Korean War. So,
if our viewers want to see it, it's pittanceoftime.org. It's definitely very striking. And Terry, I'm just about out of time. I just want to say it's been a real inspiration to have you here. And if you'd like to find out more about Terry Kelly, it's terry-kelly.com is the place to look online.
And there's a Facebook page as well, so go say hello, and you can like my Facebook page if you like.
I just want to shake your hand, and thank you so much for coming in to Telile Television. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jim Robinson. We're going to leave you with a couple of videos by Terry Kelly.
Good morning, shoppers. At 11 o'clock on this 11th day of November, we'd like to invite you to share with us 2 minutes of silence in honor of our veterans.
They fought and some died for their homeland. They fought and some died, now it's our land. Look at his little child, there's no fear in her eyes. Could he not show respect for other dads who have died? Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who went over. In peace may they rest, may we never forget why they died. It's a pittance of time. God forgive me for wanting to strike him. Give me strength so as not to be like him. My heart pounds in my breast, fingers pressed to my lips. My throat wants to bawl out, my tongue barely resists. But 2 minutes I will bide. It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who went over. In peace may they rest, may we never forget why they died. It's a pittance of time. Read the letters and poems of the heroes at home. They have casualties, battles, and fears of their own. There's a price to be paid if you go, if you stay. Freedom's fought for and won in numerous ways. Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls all over. May we never forget our young become vets at the end of the line. It's a pittance of time. It takes courage to fight in your own war. It takes courage to fight someone else's war. Our peacekeepers tell of their own living hell. They bring hope to foreign lands that hate mongers can't kill. Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who go over. In peacetime our best still don battle dress and lay their lives on the line. It's a pittance of time. In peace may they rest, lest we forget why they died. Take a pittance of time. Please, Mama, read to me. Show me the picture, sing my ABCs. Dear Papa, make up a story. Show me some magic and I'll count to 3. I want to read. Please, Mama, Papa, please, I want to read. He remembers the days as a younger boy when he learned to read and write his name. He got the stars and the highest grades. Her marks were poor. She was teased and ignored. She grew up to believe no one would ever care. Then he came by with a valentine. Though she struggled with each line, she would come to know in time that all may read. And so the seed of self-belief, may the power and the joy of words grow courage to fly free. May her hopes and dreams become reality. May she come to choose to fight the fear to try. Let her learn and grow as knowledge turns the pages in her life, that all may read. He looked into her eyes, past the years of disguise, saw her shame, frustration, even felt her pain. He took her hand and they turned the page. The road they chose took them away and back home, opening blinded eyes and minds all over the world. Young selfless lovers with their teachers' hearts, planting hope each day with every word and every phrase. They're bound to find a way that all may read. And so the seed of self-belief, may the power and the joy of words grow courage to fly free. May their hopes and dreams become reality, giving others strength to fight the fear to try. Watching them learn and grow as knowledge flows, filling minds and lives that all may read. She found freedom in the words in his valentine. The walls came down and they stepped across that line, shining bright for those who learn in different ways. With the guardians of books and children and the gift from Louis Braille, they all light the way that all may read. And so the seed of self-belief, may the power and the joy of words grow courage to fly free. May their hopes and dreams become reality. May they come to choose to fight the fear to try. Let them learn and grow as knowledge flows through fingers, ears, and eyes. They're opening the book that all may read. And so the seed of self-belief, may the power and the joy of words grow courage to fly free. May all hopes and dreams become reality. May we come to choose to fight the fear to try. Let us learn and grow as knowledge flows through fingers.